Hello, and welcome to Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Today I am back in Vermont after a long and exhausting week. That sound is Hobbs drinking water behind me. He might be on camera. If he decides that he's gonna bark today at the mailman, like if the mailman comes during this, he's gonna get to be on camera. So we'll see. There he goes, slithering away with his jingly collar. So this is coming out a little bit later than usual because it is Tuesday, the day I'm posting this, and I have finally arrived back in Vermont. But I didn't really have time to film last week, or I didn't have a tripod or anything. So, as you know, if you watch my channel, I was very busy because I went to New York for a week. I took my vacation time at work to go and work some more, which is nice because you get paid twice in that scenario, but it's like so tiring. I went to go work at a residential course for girls, teenage girls doing church music, which I explained in my previous episodes where I talked about it. So I was there from Friday to the following Monday morning. Oh my gosh, I got very little sleep. Yeah, very exhausting. It's like a 24-hour on duty kind of thing, which is really fun. I used to go to the course when I was a teenage girl, and I love working there. I love my job there, working with the children. We try not to call them all girls because some of them are non-binary choristers. But it was really great. If you know a girl who loves to sing, get in touch with me and you can sign them up for next summer. I had a great time with my friend Catherine, who was a music director. She actually got COVID. Well, she had COVID when she came. She found out she had it, but she was completely asymptomatic, which was great. And she was able to go out and do some stuff, like by herself just in New York while she recovered, or waited until 5 days were up, and then she got to come back and direct the girls after that, or the choristers. But she and I got to have some good times. We went out for cheeseburgers at JP Mellon's, which was amazing, and like had some rooftop drinks and stuff at the end to celebrate, and that was really, really fun. So I'm so tired. I slept so heavily last night. I still am like waking up at 5:30 a.m., which is just kind of like a normal thing for me while I'm there. I almost never sleep very much just because there's a lot of like moving pieces and things to think about and up in the air stuff. But yeah, it's like last night I just like crashed at like 10 o'clock and I just slept so soundly until 5:30 when I woke up, just because my body needs to get used to the real world again a little bit, I think. But I do actually have something to talk about today. I'm not wearing any knitwear. I'm wearing my Burlington t-shirt, and this is my sweatshirt from school. St. Thomas Girl Chorister course. It's actually really hot here in Vermont. Well, it might have cooled down today because it just poured all morning and like thundered and stuff. But my parents got a heat pump this year at their house, which is like just like a really efficient way to heat the house apparently. And it also has like an air conditioning power. Like it's not like a regular AC. It's just like one of those things that just kind of like maintains the temperature inside a home. So, oh, that's the fridge, making ice cubes. So, it's like 72 degrees all the time in this house, which is fantastic. Means I can wear my sweatshirt. But it doesn't feel refrigerated, as my mom says. It just feels really comfortable. So yeah, totally great. Anyway, I have something to talk about, which I showed a little while ago, I think, but I finished it, and it is a shawl. It's the Vertices Unite shawl by Stephen West. I finished it. Finished this a couple weeks ago, right before I left, and I brought it with me to New York, and I wore it to a Broadway show. We went to go see Come From Away, which was really good. I think it's gonna be on like HBO or something. I think they're putting it on HBO or some streaming platform. Hannah my roommate and I were talking about that recently, and she was like, we should watch it, but you're probably gonna go see it, so like maybe we're still gonna watch it. It was so good. If you haven't heard of it, it's a show about the planes that landed in Newfoundland during 9/11. They all got rerouted there, and it's like so heartwarming and sweet. I just loved it. So I finished this. This was part of my, like, when I had COVID, my roommates all had COVID, we were just inside. This was part of my, like, finish all these whips that are just sitting around. So I did. So Vertices Unite is a shawl pattern by Stephen West. And if you have not heard of Stephen West, you should go Google him because he's fabulous. Okay, it's getting kind of warm. I'm gonna take this off. And he's got all sorts of different types of patterns, lots of brioche, lots of mosaic knitting, lots of slip stitches, lots of like cool techniques with I-cord and stuff. He's really cool, and he really likes to play with color. And he also has a few shawls that are modular, which is what this is. So basically, I did this just kind of as a stash buster kind of thing. Like, I just had all these scraps, and I was like, that's kind of cool. Like, I bet I can make something cool with that. So I cast this on right after I found out that I got my job. And I was like, great, I'll wear it to the first day of work. And I literally just finished it 8 months into my job. So I did not wear it on the first day of work. I said, maybe I'll wear it on my first anniversary at my job. That light is flickering, and it's really annoying me. I hope you can't tell, like, from the video. Anyway, so I just thought it would be fun. It's like garter stitch, it's relaxing. There's like some increases, there's some short rows, like the way that you do this. So basically what happens to knit the shawl is that you knit this part that's striped. This is the first section. It's done in sections. So you knit starting with like one stitch or two stitches or whatever, and you increase and increase and increase and increase to the middle of this diamond, and then you decrease. This edge just stays and this edge decreases. So that's fun. So like first this edge stays the same, and then it decreases, and then first this edge increases, and then it stays the same. So it's kind of like this. I feel like you can tell that that's flickering. Hang on. Okay, well, it wasn't super necessary, so I just turned it off. Anyway, yeah, so you get this kind of like weird kind of quadrilateral thing, like irregular quadrilateral. And then you, the second section I think was this one. So you pick up all the stitches along one side, and then you knit the second triangle. It's a first triangle, the second section. This goes in short rows. So you're increasing on this edge and you're doing short rows here. Third section is this nice big rectangle in the middle, but it's knit on the bias, which is cool. So this one's cool because you're actually picking up from each edge while you knit. And then it's this one, just this is a little one. And then this one. And then this one, which was super bright, and it is the end. And then you finish with an I-cord bind off. So yeah, I thought it would be just kind of fun to like use a bunch of scraps that kind of were in the same color family. I wanted to finish it with something really bright with like one pop. But you can do it with as many as you want. One thing I did, which was very stupid, and it's just very funny, is that I did the first section backwards. So I had to knit the entire shawl basically backwards, and I tried to like completely figure out like where to increase and like where to do the decreases so that like it wouldn't show, and it was so frustrating. But I did it, and there were only a couple of little spots. Like there's a little spot, which I think I covered. I tried to cover them. There was one spot here that I just duplicate stitched over where you could see. You can still sort of see poking out the side there, some light blue. But yeah, for the most part, it was fine. I just had to like do some thinking. So yeah, I got kind of frustrated with it for a while. I was like, I don't want to finish that. I don't want to finish it. But I would go through these phases where I would pick it up and it would be really satisfying. The first section just took forever, and I really didn't like the striping. Like that's what I was really annoyed about, was that it was striped, because that just was like too much to think about. I was like, I could do this if it wasn't striped. It was just like a big garter stitch panel in one color, and so I regretted that I did stripes. There is another section in it that uses stripes, and I was like, no way, I'm not doing stripes anymore. So if you get this pattern, there are a number of colors in it, and I did not exactly follow it because I used 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I used 7 colors, and I think Stephen West only uses 5 total because he does some stripe stuff and whatever. But he gives you basically yardage required for each color, and like that sort of almost correlates to the amount of yardage per section. So I don't think you need 100 grams of any of the colors to create the shawl. So basically I just figured I was just gonna use some scraps, and I like eyeballed how big each section was, and I was like, this ball looks big enough, and I never ran out, so that was fine. But yeah, I just kind of like, I looked through my stash, and I got some blues and teals basically together, and thought, okay, I'll just pick from these, and I used some of them and not all of them. So I will tell you what yarns I used. Most of them are dyed by me. Actually, not most of them, but some of them. So the striped section, the light blue is a merino single that I did dye. I think it was left over from my very first love note that I made, the light blue. The dark blue, which looks probably from here like pretty much the same as the I-cord border. The dark blue is BC Bio Shetland in like the dark navy kind of colorway, which is a light fingering weight Shetland yarn. I just thought it'd be cool to kind of mix textures in this. Just thought like, that's fun. Do a little of that. You know, it provides some visual interest because the dark blue is kind of heathered. Probably can't see it super well. I knit this on US 4, in case anyone was wondering, but I'm a loose knitter, so that probably is equivalent to like most people's US 5. The border is done in Knit Pick Stroll, and I think I did it in like Midnight Heather or something. It's like a super dark kind of bluish green. Greenish blue, I guess. Anyway, so yeah, the A was a merino single alternated with a Shetland jumper weight yarn, basically. This one, which is kind of like green and blue and has patches of white, this was dyed in my very first year of dyeing yarn, my first summer of dyeing yarn. I was dyeing a bunch of yarn, just merino singles, ideally for mittens, but I don't know, Monica actually made a pair of mittens with the other half of this ball. So Monica is my best knitting friend who just moved to Baltimore. Oh my God, I'm so excited. And there was a summer, the first summer I dyed yarn, we like split a bunch of skeins in half. Like I dyed all these skeins and we just split them in half. And we each took half of a bunch of them. And she actually made a bunch of mittens kind of recently. She's like been kind of just like slowly working through it. I made mittens with a few pairs, and then I just kind of was like, I don't want to do this anymore. But this was a hard one. I think my friend Erin dyed this. I would just like invite my friends over that summer, my Vermont friends, and be like, do you want to dye yarn with me? And we would do like the tie-dye style. Like we would fill up the tie-dye bottles with yarn and dye, or with dye and water, and we would like tie-dye them. And so this one had a lot of white patches just because not all the yarn got dyed, which is a normal thing if you're doing hand dyes like that. So this one, Monica actually did make mittens with this, and it took her like a long time to come up with what she was going to do. And she ended up doing one with like bigger kind of like irregular flowers on them. And so that like this beat was just the background color, and it didn't really conflict with like the bigger flower motif that she did in white on the back, because there was so much white in the yarn. But they were so gorgeous. It was a really good choice for the yarn, so that was amazing. So I used that ball for this one, this kind of murky green. This is Madeline Tosh Merino Light. I don't know what color it is. I bought it at Nitty City in New York 3 years ago when I was at the girls course with a bunch of girls, because they all wanted to go to the knitting store with me, and I was like, okay. It was like part of an outing. They got to go to the knitting store with me. Some of them bought needles and yarn, and I think I gave them a whole knitting lesson. This was a long time ago. I still know the girls who I gave the lesson to because they were there this year. But one of them said to me when she got there that she had recently picked up knitting again, and I was like, oh my God. So this one's knit kind of on the bias here. You're picking up along one edge as you go, well, both edges as you go, and then, yeah, both this edge and this edge. So you pick up basically here. And once you're done with this part, you still have to keep picking up along the striped edge, but this one just stays. Or I guess you decrease this because you're adding one at this edge. So you're decreasing here so that it stays flat across the top. And again, that's a Tosh Merino light. Again, this was, like, I bought this before Amy Hendricks actually sold Metal and Tosh, so I don't even know what the color would be now because it's now owned by Jimmy Beans. Oh, Hobbs, what? Jeez, I just jumped. Hey, Hobbs! Do you want to be on camera? Oh, he's looking at me. Come here! What's over here? No, okay. All right, you can see him, he's right there. He doesn't want me to pick him up. He ran away from me when I tried. But I thought he deserved his moment on camera. Hey, buddy. Yeah. Are you on camera? Yeah. Against your will? Well, anyway, we'll see how long he just stands there. No, he's gonna go away. He's gonna go take a nap. He sleeps most of the day. Anyway, he's not old. He's like 6. He's not even 6. He's just kind of like, unless he's outside, he just kind of snoozes. Oh no, he's gone back. He's gone back to the front window. Yeah, that's right. Go in there and take a nap. If he sits by the front window, he just goes nuts every time somebody walks by. So he's a very good guard dog. Anyway, yeah, I was talking about Metal and Tosh colors. Yeah, I don't know what it would be called now. So that's the third section. The fourth section is this teal one. And I did dye this. This I dyed for my City Limits sweater, which was a teal fade with mohair. It was quite a lot. It was awesome. With merino singles. So this is one of my darkest ones in the fade. Yeah, that was fun. Nice little teal. Everybody knows I love teal. Teal glasses. My teal yarn. This one, it's kind of like teal and purple. This is from Rove Yarn Co. So Rove Yarn Co. is, I think, still operating. I think didn't operate for a while, but is now operating again. And that's a woman based in Virginia. And this colorway was called Queen City, and I think it was exclusive. And it was like, she was a person who actually also from the Girl Chorister course, someone who formerly worked with me there, 2 women actually from Staunton, Virginia, used to work with me there, and they were great. And one of them, Kristen, was friends with the woman who dyes for Rove Yarn Co. R-O-V-E, Rove. I'll link it in the show notes. And there was like a flood or a fire. I think it was a flood in their town. And so she dyed this colorway and sold it and donated all the like proceeds, the profit, I guess, from that sale to the town funds to like rebuild something. And so my friend had sent it to me and was like, oh yeah, she's doing this. And I just bought one because I was like, that sounds amazing. So I did. And I love this color. I made some socks with it because it's a sock yarn, but I had a bunch left over, so I used it for this. And I just love it. It's blues, and there's like a couple of pops of like emerald green in it, as you can maybe see. It's so much fun. So the way this part works, let's see. So these get picked up for this teal section along the edge of that, and then the teal section, this one, this one, the purple and teal, you pick up along the teal edge, and then you're knitting this way back and forth, and you're picking up one every time you get back to this edge. You're picking up one and knitting them together and doing an increase there. And this is like a little increased trapezoid here. And then it goes straight into the last color, which is the bright blue. This is also Madeline Tosh Merino Light. This didn't come with a name because Monica and I got this. We got like a mystery bag. It was like a discount mystery bag from Webb's of like 5 skeins of Madeline Tosh yarn, like merino singles. And we split them because again, we were making mittens. I think she might have made some mittens with this too, with like a blue and a white, but I just had it. It's like so electric. And I remember when we opened the bag, we were like, what? It was so pretty. And we loved that. So I never had knit anything with it except maybe a few like stripes and scrappy projects. So I wanted to use it because I had almost 50 grams. And then to tie it all together, I used the sort of really dark, it's like a really dark teal, which I think is called Midnight Heather. Sorry, I'm trying to hold this still and have it focus. Yeah, so you pick up, I basically picked up along the entire thing, and some of the stitches were just on hold, like he just tells you to put stitches on hold, and some of them you've decreased or increased or whatever, and it's just an edge, and so those you just pick up. So it's either pick up and knit or knit across on the live stitches, and you do the border all the way around it, which only took me 2 hours, and it was incredibly painstaking, but I did it, and I am pleased. And I blocked it. It dried so fast because it was like on one of those super warm days in Baltimore. It was really sunny. I just like put it in water and I just put it on the roof and it dried in like an hour. It was amazing because it's pretty thin. So yeah, I mean, I don't think I necessarily am on like a huge shawl kick, but I've just finished 2 shawls recently and it feels good. I'm kind of excited. I wore this to the Broadway show with a like maxi dress that I have that was sleeveless, and so it's cold in the theater, so I wore this and it was great. One of the girls was like, where did you get that? Where did you actually, because every single thing I was wearing, she's like, where did you get it? And I was like, the dress was from Paris. And I was like, sorry, it's from Paris. I'm so bespoke, I can't help it. the shawl is one of a kind. Sorry. So I really enjoyed having the shawl. And again, I think it's one of those things that like now that I work in an office, being sedentary makes you cold. Like sitting somewhere, even if it's like a normal temperature, that you get chilly. So I sometimes get chilly in the office just from sitting there, even if it doesn't really feel cold, because if you're not moving, you know, your body just gets colder. So but it is also kind of cold in there, especially in the winter. So I am gonna be, I think, more of a shawl wearer now that I'm in an office. Again, I worked there all winter. I wear a sweater, like a hand knit sweater to work. It's wool. But having the shawls, I think, is going to be really nice. So I'm excited to have I did the 2 haps, the Balbraid hap, which I have to reblock now that I've found my T-pins. And then the Hansel hap, which I just finished. I showed a few episodes ago. And then I've got this now. And I think I'm just going to like start working on another hap at some point. I have a bunch of yarn that I can use for that. That's like leftover Daughter of a Shepherd and John Arbon and stuff. So that'll be nice. Maybe I'll make it for my mom or something. I could just give her the yarn. I think I said that in that episode. I was like, I could make it, or I could just give her the yarn. Like my leftover yarn, she can make her own. But I'm sure she'll just make her own regardless of whether I give her the yarn or not. So maybe I'll save it. But I am enjoying them. I don't know, leaning into the being a knitter, wearing shawls. It's kind of fun. I just think this is a really fun shawl. It's like visually fun. It's kind of a lot, but like so am I. So, you know, I don't really care. And it's one of those things where like I wear a lot of clothes that are kind of plain to work, not because I feel like I'm boring in terms of my fashion, just because like, you know, I like to have like a plain base and then I can put whatever I want on top. So one of those things could be a fun, colorful shawl that's like adds a pop of color to your wardrobe. Why not? Or I'll wear, like I said, a sweater. Like I'll just put on like black pair of pants or like some nice jeans and like plain shoes, and I'll put on a fun colored hand knit sweater or like a Fair Isle sweater or whatever. So yeah, it's kind of fun. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't get a ton of knitting done last week. And I'm here now. So I did bring a bunch of stuff. I brought the Cloudsley sweater that I showed in last week's video. I made a little bit of progress, but that one really required me to like sit down and like work on it. And so I probably only made 16 rows of progress or so. And I finished the yellow socks. Did I show those? The yellow Jane Bennett socks? I don't know. But I finished those, which are kind of shorties, and I started another pair of Emma socks, which are also going to be shorties. And I figured that there was, I'm going to talk about this in my Woolly Thistle Shopcast segment next week. If you watch that, you should watch that. I had leftovers, like a lot, because I made basically shorties of this beautiful yellow yarn, and then I'm making another pair which is like a yellow and pink yarn, and they really go together. Like they kind of complement each other because they're, I think, the same-ish, really similar, like light yellow base, and then the first one has some green speckles and the other one is like has like a pink pour over, which is really nice. And then I have this Spin Cycle skein of Dyed in the Wool that's like pink and orange. It's the colorway is Sunset Strip. It's pink and orange and yellow. So I'm making like a raglan t-shirt with a little v-neck, where I start with the light yellow and then I go to the yellow pink, and then I'm gonna finish it with a skein of Spin Cycle. And I was gonna kind of try and like do helical knitting and like make it kind of like interesting, and then I was like, no, I'm just gonna color block it. Hannah, my roommate, did that recently. She had like a skein of this like raspberry colored yarn, and she got a skein of Dyed in the Wool that had some raspberry in it. It was like a pink but also had blue in it. It was really cool. And so she like did the whole yoke basically in the raspberry color, which I think was DK weight, and then she used the sport white Dyed in the Wool for the body. It looked really cool, and I was like, I want to do that. That looks great. And so I had this these skeins that I was only going to be using half of. I knew I was only going to be using half of them, and then this Dyed in the Wool, so I'm doing it too. We inspire each other a lot. We'll always be like knitting something, and the other one will be like, oh, I want to make that. So it's great. We're going to have a lot of knit alongs this coming year. A lot of sweaters. And yeah, so I just was kind of thinking about like, this is a cool way to repurpose like leftover sock yarn, because depends on the size of the length of your feet and the width of your socks. But I always have leftovers from a pair of socks if I have 100 grams of sock yarn. So it's just kind of like, I need to find ways to repurpose these skeins, whether that's like scrappy rainbow projects or something like this, like stripes in a project or whatever. These shawls, these are great. Some of these are sock yarns. One of them is a sock yarn, and it's this blue or teal and purple one, the Queen City one from Rove Yarn Co. Yeah, I mean, Amba O'Brien has a bunch of shawls that are like made for like Advent minis that you can use leftovers for. They're great. Stephen West, you can use, half skeins, partial skeins, and like tons of his patterns. You can do a big scrappy thing like the garter marler, whatever, cardigan, sweater, the penguono. He has all these amazing things where you just use basically leftovers and you hold them together and make these big squishy shawls and cardigans. I've really been enjoying Stephen West's new YouTube channel. It's not like a new channel, like he's done tutorials and stuff there a lot and like talked about a bunch of his patterns and like wools that are in the store and things at Stephen and Penelope. But he's recently just started like doing these chats where he talks about something, and they're so fun to watch. He's just like, he's so lively and energetic, and he's just like such a fun person to watch on YouTube. Get so excited. Since I'm at home, I'm drinking Spindrift. This is a new to me flavor, blood orange tangerine, and it's really good. My mom keeps these in the refrigerator, like she keeps, but not all of them. Like she just has like boxes of them in the basement, and she'll just put like 3 in the refrigerator at a time. And so I just took this out of the box. I actually like to drink these at room temperature, unless it's really hot, and then I'll drink it like a refrigerated one. But like in my office, I put like 2 in the fridge, and then I keep the rest room temp, because I'm not like ever like in need of a really cold beverage. So it's like a just in case measure. I'm not like that with beers. Like the beer has to be cold. I'm not going to drink room temperature beer. That's gross. But yeah. Spindrift is, I'm happy to drink water, sparkling water. My friend Kelly calls it spicy water. Spicy water. So I know this is the first time in a while that I haven't recorded in like the early morning, which is kind of wild. Actually, I don't think that's true. I think the last time when I recorded my 2 episodes in a row, oh, maybe it was early. I feel like I finished at like 9 a.m. after recording 2 in a row. Classic. Well, it's like lunchtime. I'm working today, so this is just like lunch. It's lunchtime. This is my first day back at work, and since Thursday 2 weeks ago. So I'm so happy to be like, I mean, like my job is like amazing because it's like pretty low key, and you know, we leave our work at work generally. It's not like, you know, this is one of those jobs for me, it's like a unicorn job. Like I'm not like making a bazillion dollars, but I make plenty of money like to live, and I live in a really inexpensive place, which is lucky. And like you know, it's great. I feel fulfilled. I don't have to stay late. Like I work truly 9 to 5. And it's like, I have really nice colleagues. I feel like I'm making a difference in students' lives. It's fulfilling. Like I said, it's a great job. So it's just, I'm just so exhausted. Like truly, I drove home from New Jersey yesterday, and I have like truly never been that tired. I was so impressed that I made it home. It was about a 6-hour drive home, and I was just like so tired. It felt so much longer than 6 hours because I didn't really start until like 11 a.m., which is unusual for me. But basically what happened was I drove to New Jersey 2 Thursdays ago, almost, and I left my car at the farm, which is owned by a family friend. It's actually my brother's girlfriend's grandma, but they're also like our close family friends, so it's not weird. And she and one of her daughters, not Ian's girlfriend's mom, her aunt, they live on the farm. It's a horse farm for retired racehorses and like injured racehorses, and they also own some racehorses. So we were catching up about that because when we visited them in May, it was with my parents, we went to see one of their horses race, and she didn't win, but she just won a big race a few weeks ago. So that was exciting. So I left my car there, and then on Friday morning, I took the train from there into the city. It's just on the shore in New Jersey. I took the train to New York, and I just left my car because it was easy to do that. So then on the return trip, so Monday morning, like 6 a.m., I left the school and I went to Penn Station, and I got on the train back to go to New Jersey. And I got to the shore around 9 a.m. and kind of was like, I'll leave around 10. That'll be great. Like, Micah and Jan, they made me like a sandwich and like got me some fruit, and we just chatted for like 40 minutes about it, how the week had gone and stuff. And then I was gonna be on my way. And I have this thing, I have a Honda Civic, and I don't know, I don't think the tire pressure sensor is faulty. I used to think that, but I think I just like didn't know how to calibrate it properly, because like when I first got the car a couple of years ago, I would like freak out. Like if anything, like the tire pressure light would come on. It just like scared the crap out of me. And I was just like afraid my tires would just explode all the time. I'm still kind of afraid of that, which is like the dumbest fear, but you know, people have fears about dumb things. So generally like car trouble is a big like worry, and I'm not actually worried about my car ever being in trouble because it's a pretty new car. It's from 2017 and it's a Honda Civic. So like there's not a whole lot that can be wrong with it. I mean, like unless I crash, which knock on wood, I've never done. It did get scraped recently in the parking lot at work, but the person left a note with all their insurance information, which was really nice. And it hasn't been fixed yet because all the guys at the repair shop had COVID, which I felt bad about. But yeah, anyway, it was drivable, so I just drove it. But I noticed, so I have like this fear of my tires not being full or whatever before I go on a long trip, because you don't want to fill up in the middle of a trip because your tires are warm and it's like too hard to figure out the right pressure. So I have this thing that Nitin got, and then I got one because he also has a Civic, and we both have like the low tire pressure thing come on sometimes. Although he got new tires, so I think that's not as much of an issue for him anymore. My tires are fine. I have like Firestone tires that are fine, but it's just like, an inconvenience. So he found this thing online that's called like a vac light. I'm gonna link this in the show notes because it's like the most useful thing I've ever had. I told my organ teacher this morning from home because we were just having a coffee this morning. I told him about it and he was like, oh, I need that. So like, I'm just like telling everyone about this. And it's like this little, it's like a pump that's electric. So you can attach it to your bike or your car tire. And like, it just goes on the thing like a normal air hose that you see at the gas stations. And it tells you what's the pressure. And then you set it to be filled to whatever pressure you want. So like, it'll tell you like your pressure is 27 PSI and you just hit like the plus button until it says 32.0 PSI and you just hit on and it goes and it fills it to 32. It totally overfills them. But then you can just like, I was just like, let a little bit of air out. Like if I set it to 32, it fills it to 34. So that's the one thing that's a little bit annoying, but it gets an accurate read on what the actual pressure is before you fill it. So that's useful. So I'm checking my tires, which I always do before I go on a big trip, and I always calibrate the thing. And one of them's lower, and I'm like, what is it? And then I notice there's a nail, and I just had 2 screws in one of my tires. It was a different tire. And I was like, God damn it. And you know, I have to drive 6 hours, so I gotta get this taken care of because my tire is just gonna like, it'll rip. Like it was at a bad angle. It wasn't clean, and I freaked. And I filled it to 32. I filled a little bit more than 32 just in case I lost pressure. And I just like I like Googled car repair near me and I found the first place. I called them and I was like, can you fix this? So I drove, they were like, yes, we can fix it right away. So I drove there. It was like 5 miles away and I drove there and they like, I didn't even get out of my car. They just like came up and they were like, where's the nail? And I was like, oh, it's in this one. And they're like, I need you to turn the wheel a little bit and just back up. And I like turned it so it was like sticking out. And he literally came, he had like a thing, pulled the nail out and he filled it with this like, whatever the stuff is that they plug it with, this bright orange. And he's like, all right, I'm done. And I was like, you're done? Like you just did it? And he was like, yeah, you're good to go. Like, I mean, I paid him, it was like $30, like very reasonable for how fast that happened. But it still really looked like there was like almost like a tear. And I was just like, are you sure I can drive 300 miles on this tire? And he was like, yep. And so I just get in the car and I'm like, all right, Jesus, take the wheel. Like, please do not explode. And it got me all the way back. It was not a problem. I'm so relieved, but it was really dramatic getting back. So I was like super tired and I still hadn't slept that well, even on Sunday night when the course was over, because I'd gone out with Catherine and we'd had some drinks and like alcohol makes me sleep badly. And, you know, it was just like, we had like a drink before dinner with some friends and we went out for cheeseburgers and then we had like a rooftop drink just like to celebrate. And I think it's like hard liquor just makes me so weird because I have it so rarely. So even in just like 2 drinks over the course of an entire evening, I was just like, my sleep was messed up. So I got about 4 hours of sleep, got up, took the train to shore, dealt with this car thing, and then just like so terrified that I was just gonna die on the highway all the way home. Like white knuckling it down the Garden State. By the time I'd driven like 2 hours, I was like, all right, I think it's probably fine. And I like stopped like hyperventilating, but it really wasn't until I got into Vermont that I was like, okay, if something bad happens, I'm already in the state of Vermont. Like my parents will come and pick me up and we'll just deal with this. But I got home, there's no problems. So I think I'm going to take my car in to the place where I bought it because they do free inspection, because it's on the way to a wedding that I'm going to this weekend up in the Northeast Kingdom. So I gotta call them, make sure, just want to like check it out. Also because I live in Baltimore, like Nitin told me this too. He was like, you know, there's a lot of potholes here. The Baltimore roads are really bad. And he said, you know, I feel like one thing I learned is that like the tires need to be like realigned sometimes if they're like constantly driving over potholes. And so I'm thinking of just asking them like, do you think I need a realignment? Not that I need it now because that's like something that don't have to do right away. But like, they're like, Nitin said that if there's like a Goodyear deal or something, some company near us that we're like, for like it's like a membership, like you pay some fee and they'll realign it like twice a year. And it's like cheaper than getting 2 realignments or 3. I think it's 3 in a year. Seems like that seems like a lot of tire realigning. But like sure, fine. If it makes my car last longer and it's like $60 and I get 3 realignments a year, like no problem. So I'm really like, I want this car. This is a Honda Civic. It should last 25 years or more. Like I want this car to be lasting a long time. So when I bought it, it was 3 years old and only had 14,000 miles on it. So Now it has 30,000. It just hit 30 a couple weeks ago. I was driving Jordan's boyfriend home because she had COVID, and I was driving him home to Catonsville, which is where I work, and it hit 30,000 miles, and we both got really excited about it. Yeah, so it has 30,000 miles on it now. It's gonna have more because I just drove it back here, and I have to drive back to Baltimore. So ideally, a week from yesterday, when I go back to Baltimore in the car, I will leave at like 5 a.m. and I will not feel like I'm driving all day because I'll get back at like 3. Oh, I took the expensive route back because I had to go through New Jersey to leave the car, and so that's the toll route if you go up 95. And it's so much money in tolls. Like, if you look at the signs and see how much they're charging you, because I don't have a Maryland Easy Pass yet. I really need to do that. I have a New York Easy Pass still, because Vermont doesn't have any toll roads. So New York is, we get a New York Easy Pass here. Maryland Easy Pass, most of the tolls are like 50% off for the Maryland toll passes, so I need to get one of those. But anyway, it's like $60 or something to drive in tolls, to drive between Baltimore, or especially Washington. No, well, there's no tolls until you get to the Baltimore Harbor Tunnel. Baltimore Harbor Tunnel, like through the New York Thruway, is like $60 in tolls if you take the 95 route and then go up 17 and like the New Jersey Turnpike and then Route 17 and then onto 287 and then 87, and then you get into Vermont. So it's only one more hour. Like, in terms of like if there were no traffic, it would be one more hour. If you go basically 0 tolls through New York all the way down into Pennsylvania and then straight down into Baltimore, because there's just like, you take, I don't know, 87 and then you take something 80 and then you take 81 and then you take 83. So it's like 4 interstates that you take like west. So you're going farther west and then basically straight down, and there's no tolls. You just have to drive through PA, like the middle of PA. And then you get on 83 and you from in Harrisburg and you get all the way into Baltimore, because 83 goes all the way into Baltimore and there's no tolls. So I'm taking that way home, and it's only one more hour, and it's like not even one more hour if there's any traffic. So it's like faster if there's any traffic on 95, and there's always traffic on 95. So because you don't have to go around any cities. Like, you hit, oh my gosh, you hit New York and you hit Philadelphia traffic. Like, you're not going through these cities, but you hit the traffic, like Philly, Newark, New York, and then like, you know, through, oh my gosh, it's so annoying. You hit 0 big cities if you go this other way west. And so I went that way when my dad and I went at Thanksgiving when I was moving to Baltimore. We drove that way and put 2 separate cars, and it was like so much better. They were like, there's like no cars on the road, no traffic, easy drive. You just set the cruise and listen to an audiobook. It was so nice. So I'm taking that way home. And it was, you know, you're already paying for gas. I'm not paying, like, for me, it might cost $60 in gas. Like, I use just over 1 tank of gas in my Civic to get from Baltimore to Vermont, which is pretty good. And like a tank of gas plus the extra amount of gas that I use is probably right now with gas prices about $60. So it's like paying double the gas money just for the tolls between Baltimore and New York Thruway, Interstate 87. It's crazy. So anyway, now I'm just ranting about tolls. I mean, it's fine. Like, those are toll roads. They get used all the time, but it's like, oh, look, I avoided this. How nice. So much better. So yeah, I'm gonna enjoy my shawl and my time here. I'm only gonna be here for a few days because I gotta go up to the Northeast Kingdom on Friday for the wedding. But yeah, I'm here. So my friend Erin and her husband Caleb are coming over tonight to have dinner with us. And then tomorrow night I'm going to see a musical with my parents, and then on Thursday I'm going to the beach to have dinner with the kids I nannied, which I haven't seen them since Halloween. And like, we don't live that far. Like, I wanted to see them more often. And I, really miss Brooke and Tom, but we know with COVID being crazy and then like their schedules were nuts and my schedule was crazy because I just moved somewhere, and then I had COVID and then they had COVID, and it's like, oh, they're going on here and we need to, you know, isolate for the grandparents, and just so much like going on there. Oh, Hobbs, what is it? What is it? Is it the mail? Okay, well, he is on camera because he barked at nothing. Did you bark at nothing? Can you say hi? Hi. Hello. Hi. He's been a pretty good boy all day. He's nice and shaggy as always. I met a Karen recently who was the same color as him. I was in Baltimore, and it was like half of his size. And then I just chatted with the owner. It was just in Fed Hill. And the dog was so sweet. She like came up and like put her paws on my knee when I knelt down to pet her and like wanted to be scratched. And I was like, oh, I don't have any treats. And the woman was like, no, she's just really affectionate. And I was like, oh, Hobbs isn't not affectionate. He's just like, he would never just go up to a stranger and like let them pet him and also like put his hands on them unless he thought they had, or his paws, unless he thought they had treats. So is that right? Is that right? Anyway, I was talking about the kids. I haven't seen them since Halloween because it's just been a hassle. But yeah, so I'm going to see them on Thursday, which is fun. Want to sniff? Want to smell this? No. Anyway, yeah. Welcome to the Hobbs show. Put some crap on your eyes. Ew. It's a good thing you're cute because you're kind of gross. Did you know that? Oh, you want to have your paw there? Yeah. How's life been, Hobbs? How's it been? Is it good? You didn't even just yawn. You just open your mouth really wide. As I was gonna stick my finger in. He's like, get away from me. Disgusting human. I don't want to smell you. I've been smelling you all day. He does like to be scratched though. Do you like to be scratched? You gonna bark? The mailman hasn't come. It's not even 1 o'clock. I should probably go back to work though, huh? Lunchtime's over. Hobbs is like, lunchtime does not exist. Stop taunting me. I don't get lunchtime. But yeah. Anyway, I just thought this was gonna be like 5 minutes because, you know, I mean, I knew that it wasn't because I always end up just like ranting about stuff. But yeah, I didn't even think I had anything to show. And then I was like, oh wait, I brought that with me. And I haven't talked about that a whole lot since it's been done. I haven't talked about it at all since it's been done. So, Hobbs, you want to say bye? Who's that? Is it Hobbs? It's you. It's you. Look at that. So anyway, thank you for watching. This has been Tiny Desk Knitting with Emma. Bye.